Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, my name is Tori and I make book related videos every week. So I don't read a lot of horror, but when I do, it just really sticks with me. I actually love thriller a little bit more, and you'll see a couple of thrillers on here that are just so like mind-boggling and just really creepy and atmospheric. So I do love a good literary thriller, but horror, man, it really gets to me. So these are some of the books right here that have really stayed with me. I've read these, some of them I read years ago, and just still when I look at them, they really freak me out. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, it just wouldn't even be this type of recommendation video if Stephen King was not on this list. I have not read too many Stephen King novels. I've read The Stand, The Shining, Under the Dome, and It, and that's really it. That's it. And I don't know, I like Stephen King. I like his work, but I actually like his short story collections, I think, a little bit more, and his novellas. He just puts some really great ideas and just some really creepy elements into really small spaces, and it's so good. So I'm recommending two of his collections. The first one is Everything's Eventual, and then the second one, this is a collection of novellas, and this is 4 Past Midnight. These are so good. So one of my favorite stories in Everything's Eventual is 1408, which is the movie came out in like 2008 with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. You have to read the actual 1408 story. It is so good. So I'm recommending that one in here. And then there's another one in here that is just so freaky, especially at the end. It's called, what is it called? It's called That Word You Can't Say What It Is in French, or You Only Know What It Is in French. I'll put the titles to the stories down below. And then this one right here, I have not read this full thing. This is a collection of 4 novellas. You don't have to read them in any type of order. So I've read the first 2 in here, The Langoliers, and then Secret Window, Secret Garden, which I love the movie with Johnny Depp, but you have to also read the story that's in here. These 2 stories are just fantastic. If you are familiar with the movie Secret Window, it's pretty much the same thing. Secret Window, Secret Garden in here. This writer who is just really kind of bummy, down on his luck. He gets a visit from a man one day who claims that he has stolen a novel that he has written. And it just becomes so trippy and unsettling and just completely atmospheric, and I think a way that only Stephen King can do. It's so good. So I really enjoyed that. And then The Langoliers, which is the first novella rather, in this collection. We're following this man, he's a pilot, and when he's landing, he gets word that his wife has died. And so he has to travel across country back to his home. But on the flight across the country, something just strange happens, and then all the passengers start disappearing, and there are just a handful of people left on this plane. And it's so good. So I'm recommending both of these. They're just so disturbing and really creepy. The next book I'm recommending is one of my favorite books of all time, and that is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This is so good. Oh my gosh. I didn't love this book when I first read it, but the longer it sat with me, the more I'm just like, in Night Film, we're following this journalist named Scott, and he has really built a career focusing his work on this reclusive film director named Stanislaus Cordova. And Cordova's films are so dark and creepy. Creepy is not even the right word. They're just dark and disturbing pieces of film. There is a huge cult following surrounding these films that Cordova creates. And his films cannot be shown in theaters because they're just so out there and just crazy. So they can't be shown in theaters. So he has this underground cult following, and people are showing his movies in tunnels and secret screenings and all this other kind of stuff. And people are genuinely obsessed with this man's work and his life and the themes that are presented in his films. And so, but the man, no one knows anything about him. He's completely off the map. And that in itself is very mysterious and creepy considering the nature of his films. And so the book starts immediately when Stanislaus Cordova's daughter, Ashley, is found dead in a warehouse somewhere in Manhattan. And that just completely, things just start spiraling out of control. And this main character, Scott, he gets wrapped up into this world of Cordova and his massive fans, and just the eeriness and disturbing nature of his films, and the extent that people go to live the themes that are in some of his films, and just at the same time trying to really find out what happened to Ashley. This book is so good. It is the perfect, I think, October book. It is so creepy, and oh my, I love it. I love it so much. It's like New York in the fall, and it's chilly and it's disturbing, and the way that the book is put together, you have these clippings of news articles, and I mean, Marisha Passel just seriously created like all of these fictional films for this director and the themes behind the films. So yeah, go read Night Film. The next book I'm recommending is also another favorite of mine, and that's The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I feel like I don't need to say too much about this. Everybody, I feel like, has read The Road at this point or has heard of it, but this is a post-apocalyptic novel, and in it we are closely following a father and son on their journey through the apocalypse, and Cormac McCarthy does not hold back. It is so good, but at the same time there's just so much humanity wrapped up in this story between this father and son. Oh my gosh, it's great. What I love about this, and actually what I found is very common for Cormac McCarthy's work, it's not just this novel, is the fact that the writing is a little unconventional. There's not that typical grammar or punctuation that you'll normally find in every novel, essentially. And so you're reading it almost in a weird kind of daze. And if you like kind of binge read this the way I did, you feel kind of sick after you read it, because you're just so immersed in the story by the way that it is written. For it to just have that effect, I think, is the mark of a good novel. So I think you should really go read this. It is just absolutely heartbreaking in a lot of places, the things that are happening to this father and his son and the things that they're doing to survive. I love it. I love this book so much. So yes, but it is it's a bit much, so like be prepared for that. The next book I'm recommending is Coraline, and this is by Neil Gaiman. This book, if you have not read Coraline yet, man, I highly recommend it. This is I don't know why this is like marketed for children, because this scared me really badly, and as well as the movie too. I don't know why kids are allowed to watch that film. That's just my opinion. In Coraline, we are following this young girl named Coraline Jones, and every time I say her name, I just think of the way she says it in the movie, and it's just so cute. But we're following her, and she moves into this old creepy house with her parents. And her parents are horrible people. They just don't pay attention to her. And so Coraline, she's exploring this new house and just really trying to find something to get into, because she's so freaking bored and her parents are not paying her any mind. And then one day she finds this kind of closet thing in the house, somewhere in the house, and she opens it, crawls through it, and then she ends up in an exact replica of the house that she previously left. But she has a new mother, the other mother, she has a new father, and they are just typical doting parents, the parents that she needs in the real world. And so the longer though that Coraline spends in this fictional other world, the more her grip and just sense of reality in the other world just kind of starts to become distorted and really creepy and really disturbing. So I love this book so much. I read Coraline at least I was going to say once a year, that's not true, but I've read Coraline several times at this point and just never get tired of it. So I highly recommend this. If the kiddos are interested in reading it, read it with them, because this is a little scary. The next book I'm recommending is We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and this is by Shirley Jackson. With We Have Always Lived in the Castle, I was really just blown away by how blatantly disturbing it is. I mean, she's not trying to hide anything. It is so, I don't know, it almost leaves me speechless sometimes, because it's just so in your face and so blatant. But we're following this young girl named Catherine, or Mary Catherine, we call her Mary Cat, and she lives up in this large house with her family. Something happened 6 years ago, and her whole family, except her sister and her uncle, died. And the townspeople in the village, they are just so afraid of this family. They're so skeptical. The sister never comes down. The uncle always stays up in the house now. So when Mary Cat comes into the town for different things, she's really the family, or the remaining family's only connection to the outside world. And when she goes down into the town, she's just treated so terribly. I mean, people just stare at her and whisper about her, taunt her, sing songs about her, all this other kind of stuff. But at the same time, when I mean, the whole story, you're in Mary Cat's head. So the whole time this is happening and she is being taunted and experiencing people in the village, she is thinking some dark things, and you're just like, whoa, like slow down. It's kind of wild in some places. And so the book, as the book goes on, the story of what really happened to the family starts to unfold, because you find out that the uncle is actually trying to write a memoir of the things that have happened. And so when people come over, they get settled in, they want to hear the story, that's when the story starts unfolding. And it is very chilling. So I really enjoyed this. I just think this is such a timeless and classic story. So highly recommend this one as well. And then next, just like it wouldn't be a disturbing horror recommendations video without Stephen King, it wouldn't be one without this woman, Karen Slaughter. Oh my God. I don't know what it is. I don't even know why I like her books, but because this is not, I don't mean it like that, like she's a horrible person or whatever, but this is just not something that I read. But for some reason, I binged The Good Daughter like I didn't have to go to work the next day. It was so crazy. And this book is like 500 pages. In Pretty Girls, we're following two sisters who are very estranged. They lost their oldest sister when they were very young. Her death kind of tore the remaining sisters apart. Something happens with the youngest sister, her husband. Something happens with him that brings the two of them back together. And it is, you know what? This is actually one that I'm not going to recommend for everybody, because it is just that hard to read and really gory and gruesome. And it's not a book that I can go out and say, yeah, read Pretty Girls. Honestly, if you had to choose between the two of them, I would say read The Good Daughter. There is a really traumatic scene at the very, very, very beginning of The Good Daughter, like the very first chapter. And I think when you make it past that, the rest of the book is pretty okay. Still kind of hard to read in a lot of places, but pretty mild considering what happens in the very first chapter of this. But in The Good Daughter, we're also following two sisters. Oh my God, something really horrible happens to both of them when they are just kids. I think the oldest at the time is maybe 13, 14 years old, and the youngest one is maybe 11. Something terrible happens to them, and that event marks the rest of their life. And then the story from there is only told in one of the sisters' perspectives. And you don't really know what happened in the aftermath of that really shocking event in the first chapter. And that is really all I think I can say about this book. I do recommend Karen Slaughter with extreme, extreme caution, because I don't even think I can handle some of her other books. But yeah, she's just that, I just think she's that kind of author. Just very, it's not even, I think she does, it's not even written in a shock value type of way, you know? It's just written very almost matter-of-factly, which I think is even more disturbing, and just very, that book. And then finally, the last book that I'm recommending is House of Leaves, and this is by Mark Z. Danielewski. This novel is just creepy. I don't even have another word for it. It's just straight up creepy. And it's a story within a story within a story. The foundation of the story is that we're following this family who moves into this house, and when they move in, they find out that the house is larger on the inside than it is on the outside. And then something happens to this family, and that's the first story. And then the second story, this tattoo artist named Johnny Truant, he finds, how do I even explain this? He finds the manuscript that was being, or the story that was being written about this family by this writer named Zampano. And so Johnny is reading Zampano's notes about this family that lived in the house. And the story is told through those three different characters and their experiences. This book, you've probably heard that is completely unconventional in the way that it's written. So many things, so many pages like require you to flip the book upside down. There's like one page, sometimes one word on some pages. Some pages you need a mirror to read them. It's just so, I think the experience of reading it is what makes it so creepy, because it just really starts sinking in with you what is happening in this novel, because you are actively engaging in the book when you're flipping it upside down and trying to see the tiny words on the pages and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, this is weird. Have a pocket mirror with you if you pick it up. That's it for me, you guys. Those are all the disturbing books that I recommend to you for the Halloween season. I do highly recommend that you check out some of Stephen King's short stories if you have not done it. Like, he's an amazing short story writer. So let me know down in the comments, what are some horror books that you have really enjoyed, some thrillers that you really enjoyed that just have creeped you out and you can't go back to it. Let me know what's the most disturbing thing you've ever read, and I hope you're having a great Halloween season, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.